Got both heads done, got them cleaned up really good, and I got the head gaskets on the engine, so we're ready to install the heads. For your timing, we're going to start with cylinder number 1, the rear cylinder. So you'll want to grab a 22mm socket, get on the crankshaft nut, and turn it until the flywheel reaches that little T mark. That's top dead center for the rear cylinder. So when I went to put the cam on, I noticed that I did something wrong. This follower here for the cam chain, this is supposed to be tucked behind this tab right here on the head. So this is in the wrong spot, and there's no way to get it back there besides pulling the head back off, lifting it up, and setting it down in the correct position. So keep that in mind and don't do that. Now that I got that sorted out, I can actually install the cam sprocket. So you'll want the pin on the cam facing up towards this little tab on the head, and you can pull the chain up, and that link right there, see how it lines up with the tab? That's what the link that you'll want to line up with the hole and the dot and the sprocket. So for the cam sprocket bolt, make absolutely sure you put some blue Loctite on this. I learned that the hard way. I had the sprocket bolt, both of them actually, back out as soon as I started the engine up and ruin the camshafts and bend one of the valves too. I was able to make a pretty cool lamp out of the cams, but definitely was not worth it, so use Loctite. Now I can repeat the same thing for the front cylinder. To get the front and top dead center, you'll want to support the cam chain with one hand, and then watch the flywheel. You'll see a single line on there. That's it. There we go. That's top dead center for the front cylinder. When I started editing this video, I realized that I forgot to get footage of installing the cam chain tensioners. So I'm going to link in the description my disassembly video where you can see me pulling out the cam chain tensioners. Installation is just the reverse of disassembly. This is the stage where you'd want to do that. There you have it, how to install a Virago engine. As far as hooking up all the wires and putting all the lines and components back on, everything is pretty much just the reverse of disassembly. So if you need more info on how to do that, just see my disassembly video where I took the engine out of this bike. There's a couple things I'm doing different this time though, because I've got this single carb conversion intake manifold on here. To install this, it came with these little paper gaskets here. So I added some gasket sealant, some black RTV on both sides of those. I'm gonna keep the air induction system for now. You can see it back there. I ran a vacuum line from one of the fittings on this factory Carb boot to the air induction. And then this vacuum line here goes up front to the VOEs. This is the vacuum operated electrical switch. So what that does is it advances the ignition timing a little bit when the engine reaches a certain vacuum pressure. So I'm gonna leave that connected. So next I'll go ahead and install one of the factory carbs onto this intake so we can see how that runs. So here's how I've got the single OEM carb set up. I've just got the throttle cables running to their original locations. I wasn't able to figure out a way to get the choke linkage working because you'd have to have the cable pulling from this direction to engage the choke. So I figure if I really need to use it, I can just reach my hand over and hold this. It's a really good looking setup, but unfortunately, it's also right where my leg goes when I'm riding it. The air filter's a little bit too wide. I have to play around with that, see if I can find a better one. So for the single carb conversion, I'm starting off with a 150 size main jet and a 47.5 size pilot jet. Another thing I'm doing too is I've got these DynoJet stage 1 needles that I've been running for a while on the dual carb setup, and the needles have a little bit slimmer profile. You can see it's a DynoJet, it's a factory needle. So that gave me actually quite a bit more top end power when I ran these in the dual carb setup. So what I did was I just moved this E-clip up one notch. So you can see here's the other DynoJet needle. You can see they tell you to set it 3 notches up. So I moved the E-clip up one. So hopefully that'll make it run a little bit richer to compensate for the fact that there's now only 1 carb instead of 2. This is kind of a janky fuel line setup. I'm gonna have to go pick up some longer lengths of fuel line that I can actually run the proper routing, because the original routing goes back here behind the frame and then back up the backbone and down. to where it connects to the carb, but that's the longest piece of line I had sitting around the shop, so it'll have to do for now. Alrighty, let's give her a try. Well, as you can tell from that video, there's still quite a bit of troubleshooting and some tuning to do on this thing. It was running, so that's a win, but it wasn't making anywhere near the power that it should have been. I actually took this thing for a spin in the rain last night when I got it running for the first time. It ran a lot better then than it did today. You know, and first it pulled like a freight train. I didn't get it on video, unfortunately, but it was definitely running good last night. did a couple things different leading into that second test ride. You can see I cleaned up the fuel line, so I just got some longer line and ran it around. So that's not going to affect the performance, obviously. The other thing I did was I went ahead and put a new set of spark plugs in it, and I went back and adjusted the valves. They're kind of tricky to get back in there. There's a valve cover for the front intake, rear intake. So yeah, I think what happened was the last time I adjusted the valve clearances was when the heads were off the engine. So once it got through a full thermal cycle and it heated up and cooled down after the first time I started it, the valve clearances moved a little bit. So the clearances were too tight and the valves weren't seating all the way and not retracting all the way because of that. So the engine wasn't making as much compression as it should have been, and that's why that first ride was so rough and it wasn't making nearly as much power. But now that I got that sorted out, it's actually running really good for a kind of a first go on the setup with the carb. It's definitely having some problems with idle. The idle is really rough and it died on me a couple times, so I had to kind of hold the throttle open just a little bit to keep it idling. Probably going to try a slightly bigger pilot jet because idle issues are typically down to the pilot jet. And then the other issue I noticed was when it was accelerating under full throttle and higher RPMs, like in the 4,500, 5,000 range, it was missing and popping and banging through the exhaust quite a bit. So that's probably either an exhaust leak or a vacuum leak. And I'm going to have to run down exactly what the issue is there. But once it was up to speed on the highway, it was purring, it was running great. This will conclude the top end rebuild video series. If you have any questions about how to do anything you saw in this series, feel free to drop them in the comments or shoot me a direct message. There's not many of these bikes left on the road. They're getting kind of old, so I figure if I can help somebody out and help keep one of them running, then this YouTube thing was worth it. So thanks for watching.